So we're back with another signature video I do every year, and many other YouTubers do. It's not just exclusive to me, and I'm gonna do my underrated and overrated players series. As you can see from the title, we're gonna start things off on a positive note and talk about players that are flying under the radar this year. Players who have been disrespected, slept on, and should be getting a lot more validation for their efforts, but they're just not. So I decided to take it upon myself to do that. But before we go any further, make sure you drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell for post notifications to stay up to date with the latest content on this channel. I'm literally knocking at the door of 70,000 subscribers, and it is because of you guys. Thank you very much. And last but not least, don't forget to check out the latest episode of Hoop Concessions, episode 69. We talked about the Miami Heat, the Golden State Warriors' recent struggles, the Rookie of the Year race, and many other topics. Make sure you go and check it out. Link is in the description and pinned comment. But enough of all the plugs. Let's get back to the subject of discussion and talk about the most underrated players in the NBA this season. To kick things off, we have Robert Williams of the Boston Celtics. Now, for those who don't know, he is the starting center of the Mean Green team, and I believe that due to his numbers not jumping out the page compared to bigs like Karl Anthony Towns, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, or even not averaging double-doubles like Rudy Gobert, I think a lot of people severely underrate his impact on the Celtics. When you watch the games, it's very clear that they do some post action with him, and he's a really solid passer out of the high and low post. And due to his passing and vision, he can find guys whether they're cutting to the rim or they're open on the perimeter off of a screen. He's also a great screen setter, roll man, and lob threat, and when you have all of those things combined with his passing ability, he's a really useful offensive player at the center position. And I know some of you guys may be wondering, why does that even matter? A lot of bigs can do that, and he's only averaging 10 points a game. Fair enough, good point. But then you get into what he's done on the defensive end this year, and that's really where I think he's going to turn your head. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league. He's actually fairly mobile and can move his feet as well on the perimeter. Not saying he's Giannis or Bam Adebayo, but he can definitely hold his own better than a lot of bigs on the perimeter. He also has fast hands, can anticipate passing lanes, and it helps him rack up some steals. He's a great weak side shot blocker, a great rim protector, and he has impacted this Celtics team immensely on that side of the ball. Even when you look at his matchup numbers, he's actually holding some of the best players in the NBA, such as Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan, to considerably low percentages. And because of his efforts defensively, he's actually among the top 5 candidates for the Defensive Player of the Year right now. And in the last 25 games that he's played, though he's only averaging 10 points on 71% shooting from the field, he's also averaging nearly 3 blocks and a steal while giving you 11 rebounds a game, and 4 of them being offensive rebounds. It's insane how amazing he is on the offensive glass. And in that time span, the Celtics are 21-4. So don't sleep on Rob Will's impact, because it is definitely contributing to the Celtics' recent success. But speaking of player success, that brings us to the next guy, and we have Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma has been amazing for the Washington Wizards this year. You could just look at his improved box score with career highs all across the board to confirm that. He's an improved defender from what he used to be in the past, especially in the first couple of seasons. He's a really solid passer, and he'll let you know that with his flashy dimes. He's good in the mid-range. Even though he's no DeMar DeRozan or Kevin Durant, he can still get to his spots and knock them down consistently. And though he's no Steph Curry, he's a really solid three-point shooter that has provided much needed spacing on this team. But the real reason I wanted to put him in this video is because nobody is talking about the tear that he is currently on right now over the last 30 or so games. As over his last 30 games, he is averaging 22 points a game along with 9 rebounds and 4 assists, shooting 49% from the field, 35% from 3 on nearly 6 attempts, and 76% at the free throw line. And when you factor in that he is not a liability defensively and that he's actually at the bare minimum an average defender, I would say the Wizards have found a gem on their hands. Kuzma's already 26 years old. I'm not saying he's gonna grow into being some all-NBA caliber guy or an MVP one day, because he's not, let's just be honest. But if he's gonna give you this level of production over the next 4 to 5 seasons, which is very possible, him paired along with Porzingis and whatever you get in the offseason around Bradley Beal, because it's clear he's not going anywhere, I honestly think that could do justice for the Wizards' future going forward. And the fact that nobody is talking about him averaging 22 and 10 damn near over the last 30 games is insane to me. It truly goes to show the lack of attention that small market teams and players in those markets get in comparison to others in bigger markets, because when he was a rookie and not even doing what he's doing now, he was getting talked about like crazy. But hey, maybe leaving LA was just the right move for him, because who knows if he could have ever done this with the Lakers, especially with him getting death threats. But let's move on to another player, and that is Jrue Holiday. I believe that Jrue Holiday has been one of the most underrated players not only this year but in recent years as well. I know he's coming off of a championship, but when you talk about the better players over the last 5 to 6 or even decade, if we're being quite honest, because Jrue's been in the league for a really long time, his name is hardly ever brought up despite him being one of the most consistent point guards and best two-way players in the league over the last decade. And this year has been no different, as he has career highs in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and true shooting percentage with 50% from the field, 42% from 3-on-5 attempts a game, and 60% true shooting. Couple that with 18 points a game, 7 assists and 5 rebounds, as well as 2 steals, and you have one of the best point guards in the league, because not only is he getting it done offensively but also on the defensive side of the ball. We all know Jrue defensively is one of the best in the league. He's known as arguably the best on-ball defender in the NBA as far as the perimeter players are concerned, and you can make a valid argument that that's really not that debatable. And when you factor all of that in, I just don't understand why he wasn't even an all-star, which is the biggest reason why I even put him on this list. I get it that Chris Middleton is the Robin, but Jrue's been more efficient and better on the defensive side of the ball, coupled that with his playmaking, and I just don't understand why he wasn't the all-star selected alongside Giannis this year. I mean, even when you look at the on-off numbers for him offensively, it is amazing, as when he's on the court they have a 120.5 offensive rating, and when he's off the court it drops to a 108. That is a 12.5 difference when he's on and off the court offensively for the Bucks this year. By every single metric, box score, eye test, on-off numbers, advanced stats, he should have been the all-star alongside Giannis this year, not Chris Middleton. He is playing like a bona fide top 10 point guard in the NBA right now, and you can make the valid argument that he's a top 20 player in the league, if not at the bare minimum top 25. But let's move on to our next underrated player, and we have Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors. Siakam has gotten this label of being a quote-unquote fraud and trickster, and I even participated in that when I threw that joke at him in my Julius Randle video a couple of weeks ago. And to all the Raptors fans, I'm sorry that y'all felt some type of way. It was just a harmless joke, but obviously jokes can go too far, and y'all felt some type of way. I understand. He's been hooping this year, because just like damn near everyone else on this list, Siakam is actually getting it done on both sides of the ball, offensively and, yes, you guessed it, defensively as well. As one could make the argument that he's even having a better season than his 2020 year that he was viewed as a top 10 to 15 player and even made an All-NBA team, as he's averaging 22 points a game along with a career high in rebounds at 8 a game and assists of 5 a game, while shooting 48% from the field, 34% from 3, and 74% at the free throw line. Siakam is a really good transition player, whether he's with the ball or without the ball. He's a really good finisher. He's even shooting 67% in the restricted area. He's a nice playmaker and passer. He can make the right reads in the half court or transition. He's a good roll man. He can spot up. Even though he's not taking that many threes, he can knock them down when he does take them. And when you have that versatility offensively, especially from your power forward position, I don't get how he doesn't make the all-star team also. And I'm not too mad about it, because unlike Jrue Holiday, the Raptors were a lower seeded team in the Eastern Conference, and I get it, they're not going to get 2 all-stars more than likely. But when you look at his production this season, there's no debate about it. He is all-star caliber this year. Even defensively, he's having the best season of his career on that side of the ball as well. He's solid on the ball, especially for a player at his position and size. He can move his feet very well. He's good off the ball. He can rack up steals in passing lanes, and he's also a really solid help defender. For a team that struggled with size and physicality for a majority of the season because a lot of their big men have sucked, let's just be honest, Siakam has done a really good job to try to make up for that. And I'm not saying that Siakam is a top 10 player or even a top 20 player in the NBA, but the Raptors currently have the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference, and I can't help that if it was anybody else doing what Siakam is doing right now, they would get a lot more love than what Siakam is getting right now, not only from the media but even from the NBA community as a whole. But let's move on to the next player and final one on this list, and we have Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, if you follow my channel for a long time, you know that I was a huge fan of Jaren Jackson Jr. when he came out of Michigan in the draft. I thought he was the perfect model for the modern day power forward in the league. He could space the floor, handle the ball a little bit, and was a great defender, seen as a really flexible one that could guard multiple positions as well. In today's league of positionless basketball, that is needed now more than ever. But before this season, his time in Memphis was okay. It wasn't bad, but it didn't really live up to my or a lot of other people's expectations. He was a solid 3-point shooter, but that didn't outweigh the other negatives in his game. He wasn't a great rebounder, which prevented him from playing the 5. He lacked a lot of physicality in the paint, which led to him not being able to guard legitimate bigs, and he was also a huge block hunter. So sometimes times he wouldn't even try to take charges, he wouldn't even just try to contest the shot, he would just go for the block, and he was always getting in foul trouble. And it's one thing if you can block it consistently and stay out of that, but he just couldn't do that. But this year he has turned it around completely on that side of the ball, because though he is having a little bit of a slump offensively, he's still providing spacing as teams are guarding him, and that's needed with a stretch four when you have a point guard like Ja Morant who needs that level of spacing to attack the basket and get rim pressure. As far as defense, this is the best that it's ever been, as he's currently third on the Defensive Player of the Year ladder. This is the first year of his career in which he's averaging fewer than 5 fouls per 36 minutes played with 4.4. He also leads the league in total blocks with 125 and is tied with third in blocks per game. The Grizzlies are 15-1 whenever he records 3 or more blocks also. And according to the team's stats, when an opponent attempts a shot within 6 feet of the basket, his field goal percentage is 13.7% lower when Jaren Jackson Jr. is not contesting. He truly is one of the best defensive players in the league, and on a team that has Ja Morant on it, who is not that great of a defender, he is the glue that holds their defense together and being one of the best in the league on that side of the ball. And I wanted to talk about him because he's not being talked about enough. Jaren Jackson Jr. is arguably the second best player. Actually, scratch that, he is legitimately the second best player on this team, and I believe he was probably snubbed of an all-star appearance, especially if Andrew Wiggins was going to make the team as a starter. Everybody's always talking about Ja Morant, and rightfully so, but the fact that Desmond Bane has gotten more coverage than him is unacceptable. So give Triple J his props, not only because he has a cool nickname, but because he's a great and impactful player on the second best team in the Western Conference. But that concludes this video. If you disagreed with anything that I said, or you feel like I left out any players, let me know down below in the comment section. Make sure you follow me on social media. The links for my accounts on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch are all down below in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.